We continue to take a look at some issues from the world of communications and how they relate to compliance by looking at sharing. The compliance tip of the day. This is the podcast where we bring you daily insights and practical advice on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of compliance requirements. Whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey, my aim in this podcast is to provide you with a bite-sized, actionable tip to help you stay on top of your compliance game. And now I'd like to say a few words about the latest podcast on the Compliance Podcast Network, AI Today in 5 with 5. Thrilled to announce the inaugural episode of my latest podcast series, AI Today in 5. I wanted to do a short, curated set of stories and news stories about AI for the compliance professional and the greater business professional. You can check it out on Megaphone, the Compliance Podcast Network, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple, or wherever great podcasts are listened to. Check out AI Today in 5. Have you thought about sharing information as a part of your corporate compliance program? Obviously, a hotline is one of the ways to do so, but in this episode, I want to explore some other ways that sharing can facilitate a best practices compliance program. How can you use compliance communications to create a social environment where employees feel comfortable to share information and not simply raise their hand and speak up, although that's a part of that, but we're going to explore that a little bit more in a subsequent podcast on this series this week. One of the missions of Ronnie Feldman, the founder of Learnings and Entertainment, has been to fight against dull, boring training, which is not listened to or quickly, if listened to, is quickly forgotten if listened to at all. When it comes to speaking up, this is particularly true for dull posters where non-creative techniques are used. It can come off as preachy or inauthentic, and it really should be inspirational. Obviously, cadence can also be a reason, as many companies will have speak-up campaigns only once a year. So why not have sharing campaigns literally throughout the year and then ground them in a focused speak-up? While antithetical to most compliance professionals, it's in the back of many employees' minds. It's not cool to tattle, don't be a snitch or a drama llama, as Ronnie would say. While these thoughts are not nefarious, many people may not want to get involved. And so what can you do to really enhance the trust to share information? It should begin with the idea that communications are important, more important than the training, because this allows you to continually promote compliance and do so creatively so people pay attention. And the message is as important as you being creative. This is where transparency comes in. You need to use stories to share the mechanics of your compliance processes. Make sure employees understand that they'll be kept apprised. And as Bob Conlon, former CEO of Navex, has said, a speak-up culture only exists when it's paired with a listen-up culture. The bottom line is, in that compliance, you are only limited by your imagination. When you overlay creativity on your imagination, you can create something very special. Ronnie Feldman and I do this on a podcast called Creativity and Compliance, which I would urge you to check out. You can use compliance communications to drive sharing, because even comedy and improv comedy, the background of Ronnie Feldman professionally, is really about listening. So you can learn listening skills through improv, and those listening skills will help you in your overall compliance program going forward. So how do you get employees to share? Well, it starts with engendering trust. And this is going to be critical in your day-to-day interactions, because it's certainly one thing for someone to report to the hotline. It's certainly one thing for someone to raise their hand and speak up, but the sharing, that interaction, that's going to be critical. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Well, how can you improve sharing in your organization? 2, use communications to foster trust for sharing. And 3, document those shares, because always remember, if it's not documented in a regulator's eyes, it never happened. Said I'm happy to do for you, the compliance profession, is if you have a question or a series of questions you would like some compliance tips on, I'm happy to take any requests that you might want, certainly anonymize them, and give you a quick tip, either one quick tip or maybe a week's worth of quick tips. So if you have any tips you want about your compliance program, you can shoot me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This podcast was created and produced